sharing the message of the Sikh religion, and so he also used to teach self-defense as well as hymn singing, and how telling the youth who had gone kind of away from their roots that give up drugs, give up alcohol, that this is not the path of our forefathers, that live a healthy spiritual lifestyle, and inspired. So many people inspired, even the American Sikhs were inspired by him. So what happened is then in the 1970s, there was a group called the Narangaris, this group here. They were actually a government-sponsored group, and the Indian government since 1947, what you probably know is when the transfer of power, I won't say independence, transfer by the British, then transferred the power. In that, Sikhs were supposed to be get freedom. The Punjab state, though, where most Sikhs come, they didn't get their rights, so their water rights, electricity rights. Even the language of Punjabi wasn't recognised by the Indian government. So Gujarati was the language for Gujarat, but Punjabi was not considered a language for Punjab. So various things, these are more socio-economical, political issues, not to do really much to do with religion. So when Sikhs are protesting that, why we're not getting our rights, with any government, which probably across the world, sometimes to shut down a which is very valid kind of concerns of a people, then they make them out to be separatists, although they shift the focus. So Punjab's river water, 70% of the river water was going out to other states. So Punjab was going to eventually become a desert, but Punjab was all supposed to be farmland. So there's various issues, and this kind of protest and this kind of thing is to kind of shut down the Sikh voice, which you can see as even during death has not been the voice of freedom and against injustice is carried on. That the government then sponsored these kind of god men, and they're not as a we don't mind pluralism, but these people were there just to insult the Sikh religion. So they, as you can see, they placed his foot on top of Guru Granth Sahib, which you can imagine is a great insult, which no Sikh would accept, mimicking and mocking the Sikh gurus. And then on Vaisakhi, which is the spring festival of the Sikhs, he planned to do a procession where copying the Sikhs, but actually in a derogatory manner. So where we have 5 Sikhs leading a procession, he's going to have 7, and say, look, I've got 7. And then him and his wife were kind of decorated themselves as the guru, and he made insulting remarks about the Sikh faith. So keeping that in mind, this happened in in the past, Sikhs have challenged these people. This 1978 Vaisakhi kind of thing, that's when Bhai Fauja Singh, he comes into play. He's already made a Khalsa farm where he's training people in spiritualism and in self-defense. So he's kind of maybe, you should stand up for yourself in spiritualism. This now happens, so we're going to go to, it's over here now. So just like we're having this event here, there's a similar event happening in Amritsar. And the group which I mentioned, Bairam Singh, he spent 16 years in prison. Yeah. So the organisation which inspired by him is called the Akhand Kirtani Jatha. So they're having this kind of hymn singing concert, religious spiritual concert. When they found out that he's planning to do a procession, these people, and they've been put their foot on Guru Granth Sahib, announcements made in this spiritual concert. Bhai Fauja Singh was cooking at the time for all the congregation. So they come out and they said, we're going to peacefully protest. So they come to the Golden Temple where they meet other Sikh leaders, and they said, we're going to do a very peaceful protest because Sikhs, we're supposed to, you only raise the sword when all peaceful means of have failed, and it should only be for defense. And so they said, we do a peaceful protest, just meditating, chanting, and we go there just so that this is unacceptable. Yeah. And perhaps the police would have said, guys, what you're doing is propagation, can you please stop, because actually you're hurting the sentiments of all religions by what you're doing. But when these people go, walking, most of them are there, they're actually barefooted, and they're chanting God's name as they're going. They're met by the force of the cult group with batons. And so, but because Bhai Fauja Singh was a trained martial arts, he always had his sword with him. So there's only a good handful of them though. The rest of them are just normal pilgrims. There's about 100 plus. So when they were smacking everybody down, obviously it's very painful, but then he blocked, and then so with that they then backed down. when they backed down, then they resorted to throwing bricks at the Sikhs, which most people were being. But then what the Sikhs then decided, then they've got the bricks up again and throw back and we just here to protest. Please stop throwing bricks at us. When that failed, then they these guys are still adamant of going. Then they threw acid bottles.
Yeah, I was reading that.
Yeah, so acid bottles were thrown. So because they're barefooted, you can imagine. Most people have now been injured, but there's just a core group by Fauja Singh Main and a few other devout Sikhs. They're still carrying on, and then at that point, then they start firing. As you can imagine, where do you get so many bricks that you can attack 100 people with so many bricks, like a rain of bricks, so many sticks, and then bullets. So obviously that comes in with the government-backed, sponsored, they probably wanted a genocide.
Sorry.
So once that's happened, so this is kind of more pictures of kind of the time you can see. And then they start firing, and in the firing, by Fauja Singh is shot in the eye, and the police actually stood and they watched this. And some say that actually the person who shot by Fauja Singh in the eye was actually the head of the police in Amritsar. So as a result, hundreds participated, about 70 or so were injured severely, but 13 became martyrs. So this is from one of the sort of American Sikhs from one of their testimonies. So with these we feel blessed and pray to the Guru. If one day we had to repeat the history here, we should be equally good. We should follow equally in the very footsteps of the gracious people who at least knew how to die and how to die in the name of the Guru as a Khalsa. So meaning they died in a very dignified way of saying God's name. It's kind of about that, you can kill us, but we can't kill our dignity, which we have for. So after this happened, then it leads to, so this is their funeral. So these are the funerals of all the 13 devout Sikhs, and then approximately 25 to 30,000 people gathered for their mass cremations, and then all their families were then honoured at the Sikh sanctum of Amritsar. They were honoured for their bravery and their kind of commitment to their faith. So this kind of was an opening for the Sikhs, that where we before had we have had our water rights, our electricity rights, our language rights, and so on. Now it became an attack on our faith as well, where Sikhs were very subjugated in the Indian occupied Punjab, and so that kind of led to a freedom movement, where Sikhs were saying, what, we're not against anybody, but we would like our freedom, please. Freedoms for everybody. As you probably know, Dalits, or so-called low castes in India, they get flinched even today in other parts of India. Christians get flinched and nuns get, there's you probably read about the violence which happens. Muslims who have the cattle business, they are just by vigilante, will get them and just lynch them and kill them, because they said, you're probably going to kill these cows. So it's very much no one feels safe minorities in India. So that kind of the Sikh, and the Sikhs always speak up. Because if you don't speak up, no one's got a problem with you, just carry on. And, but because Sikhs, that's what we've been taught, that to stand up for ourselves and others. That's why it's always that the Sikhs have been considered a problem. Same with Jesus. You can say, Jesus, what did he really do? But when you speak the truth, you're going to annoy people. And obviously Easter, today that he was put on the cross. Same thing you can say with the Sikhs, is with speaking the truth. This is the dress of an elderly gentleman who was 80 years old, who was one of the martyrs of this massacre, and his family's already washed it, but that's a blood stain. He was 90, and he was a martial arts expert, so he had a stick with him. So he fended off himself from the attack of this kind of regimented army of these government-supported people. How eventually the attack came on his head, and his head ripped open, his turban came off on his head, and then he just kept chanting and meditating. That's the actual dress from that day, and these are his glasses, and just some of the memorabilia of some of these people who gave up their lives but not their faith. So that's some of the memorabilia which people have looked after. So each an individual then who actually courted martyrdom is just a picture of their probably sometimes more of an English setting, and I can imagine in this country we're not very used to seeing pictures of dead bodies. So we become very sensitive to these kind of things. But for Sikhs, we're kind of in the sense of one way it's desensitized in one sense, because for us that's just part of our. You can imagine all these pictures. That's just part of who we are. That's our history. Remember them. So in Gurdwaras, we have pictures of the martyrs in the state after they've been quartered martyrdom. Like I said, for us children they wouldn't be like scared or frightened, because for them that's something they just know that this happened throughout Sikh history and still happening today. So each one of these, they're all spiritual people, devout. They weren't just they're just very devout people and spiritual people, but they decided that we're going to stand up. So it's just a short history of each one of them.